What up, everyone? We are back with another episode on this Tigres week as it continues to give us some more surprises, some positives and some negatives as well. But an excellent week, to say the least, with everything that's been going on and all the Tigres fans that we have in Houston from all over the place, Mexico, Illinois, Louisiana, California, and all the surrounding Texas cities. It's been a great week so far, and we still got a couple more days left of it. So we're here back tonight with another episode with Alfred. How you doing, my friend?
Very good, man. Happy to be here.
Good to have you. And then Lou, Tigres English, checking in. What's up, bro? How are you?
What's up, guys? Just got through doing a podcast with the Battered Herons Inter Miami podcast, and they're super stoked about this game too. So should be a great one.
I'm very curious to see what you got to share with about that. And lastly, Edgar, Double O Nation up in North Texas. What's up, bro?
Doing good. Happy to be with you guys to discuss Tigres once again.
Yeah, it seems like we've been doing this quite a bit this week. So, but we only get one Tigres week in Houston, or in Texas, it's just to say. But yeah, so Leagues Cuss, fellas. We debuted it obviously last night in our first match of two here in Houston with our opening game against Puebla, another Liga MX team. And we were expecting, maybe not a sellout, but a good presence of people there. And unfortunately, that did not happen. Obviously, there's multiple reasons that could have happened. One of them being that, when Messi was announced as the opponent for Tigres, everybody quickly tried to grasp tickets and, spend a good buck to make sure you got their own ticket for NRG Stadium, which NRG holds about, on a good day, maybe 80,000, on a bad day, 78, 79,000. So I assume that was the main reason that people did not attend. Obviously, it's a work night for people in the States and, traffic getting in and out. So I can only predict that was the main reason. And, a friendly ticket, let's call it a friendly ticket in the second upper level of the stadium ranged anywhere from $50 to $75. Not ideal when you're trying to sell out a stadium. And, when you're looking to pick the stadium or the city as your hub, to host games. So I want to start there before we get into the game. What were your thoughts, I know Alfred was there at the game, but Lou, Edgar, that you guys watched on TV, impressions on, what you guys were thinking and what was going through your head as far as people, attendance, and crowd. We'll start with you, Lou.
Disappointed with the turnout. I thought we should have showed up. I know it's Pueblita. People don't get too excited to watch Puebla, right? You mentioned how on the flip side on Saturday, there was at one point an opportunity to watch Messi. So there's a lot of big names in Inter Miami. So obviously that's going to be the big ticket. But I thought our fan base should have showed up for that Puebla game. I was a little bit disappointed, and the weather wasn't great either. Lots of humidity, so the product on the field wasn't great either.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that because I think that dictated quite a bit of how the game was managed. Edgar, thoughts on the crowd and what it seemed like to you on TV?
Yeah, so it was very disappointing. It looked like, when I've seen Tigres play CONCACAF Champions League in Central America, that's the type of crowd that you get for a home team. So it was really disappointing, especially because I've been to games at the Dynamo Stadium and I've seen it full of Tigres fans. So it was a little bit upsetting to see that, but I do understand, there's another game on Saturday where, as you mentioned, Messi was rumored to be there. If not, there's a couple other fan favorite dinosaurs that we'll get to see with Inter Miami. So,
well, he's still going to make an appearance, but not on the pitch. I'm sure he'll be there and hanging out. He's got to see his boy Nahuel after making an appearance in the docuseries for Tigres. Alfred, you attended the game with me, and we were hanging out for a while. We split up. You went inside the game first and into the stadium. And when I asked you to get a video because you were in, the VIP President's Club, the suites where all the important people are. You sent me a video, and one of the things that you said was, it's still, not a lot of people are here. And so when I got in myself, I saw basically the same video that you sent me, just from a different angle. Your thoughts on, as you got to the game as well, and, crowd wise.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think the rival matters. Sometimes when we get these games of Tigres here in Houston, in the past we've gotten, like America, or we've gotten, maybe Rayados, or just other teams that attract more crowd, and it helps. It helps when the rival is a good rival. Even if Tigres fans didn't show up, or as we would have hoped, I don't even think Puebla fans showed up. I mean, I saw maybe 3 little crowds of Puebla, and I'm talking about crowds of like 3 to 5 people. So there wasn't a lot of Puebla fans either. So obviously we were local, but we wish we could have had a lot more. I think that another factor is also that people had a split decision, not just because of the Miami game, but also because 3 days prior we had the TigresFemenil game. So in a matter of 7 days, we had 3 games to show up at, and maybe a lot of people decided, hey, I'm gonna only go to these 2, skip out on the Puebla game because it's in the weekday. That could have been a reason as well.
Good point. 3 Tigres games in 1 week. Typically you get that in Monterrey, and most of the people are season ticket holders, and it's for the Liga MX, so it's got a little bit more prestige in terms of what's at stake. Even though we do want that Copa, and we want to be the first Liga MX team to win that. Let's talk a little bit about our, atmosphere-wise, Alfred. We were there, we got there, and there's a fan zone this time around, unlike the TigresFemenil. There was already a line when you and I arrived there, and we got there pretty early, right when it was about to start. It was supposed to kick off at 6:00, but they opened up around 6:10, 6:15. But a good amount of people in line, and quite a bit of things there. So tell us about what you experienced at the fan zone.
Well, it was a good experience. I mean, like always, when they bring the trophies and you get a chance to take a picture with the last trophies won. I think that was good. We actually got the Campeones Cup and the last Liga MX Cup, the 23. The only one that was missing was the Campeones. But aside from that, we also got a chance to take a picture, get an autograph with Diablo Nunez, which to any of the fans, like we were talking about on the pod a couple of days ago, those of us that grew up watching Diablo, or that when we were kids, he was pretty much our first idol. It was pretty exciting to get to meet him.
Yeah, that was very surreal for me. I said a few words to him, and I couldn't believe it when I took the picture with him, because in the past it was the Jorge Torres Nilo and Hugo Ayala when they first came to bring the fan zone. This last time around when we had the friendly Clásico Regio, and even though I respect them, but I got to see them as an older version of myself, as an adult, and going up to Diablo and just telling him that he was my first idol, and thank you for all the happy moments as a kid, was incredible. He signed one of the graphics that they gave us at the fan zone, so that was pretty cool. We were able to get a lanyard. The lanyard was pretty cool as well. It says Perfil Tigre on it. The only thing we were missing, and I'm a little salty about it, Alfred, is the stickers.
Right.
Tigres English did an excellent job, or I should say the Tigres English account for the club did an excellent PR and marketing, leading up to the game. And they have all week as well, with all the initiatives and moments that they've had here in the city. And they started with, showing murals from the city, and with the city, they showed some stickers or magnets, and, they even responded to their own tweet that they were going to have them in the fan zone. So of course we got there early, like a little kid, to try to get a hand of these stickers, and we weren't able to. And so if anybody that's listening out there from the club, or anybody that went to the game yesterday in Houston that was able to get a hold of some stickers, I'll buy some from you. Put them on the market. They were really cool. But let's get into a little bit right before the game. There was a little release about things, and I know you guys saw them online, and maybe you guys that were at home saw them as well on social media. a lot of new, I guess, merch. We were able to see T-shirts, hoodies, obviously the training jerseys that we saw throughout the week. Lou, Edgar, thoughts on the new merch that you were able to see online from the team? I saw a lot of really good response about from the fans on social media. Thoughts on that?
My wallet is crying right now because all of my money has already been gone just from looking at this stuff. This is really great merch. Adidas and Adidas have been really, really well about catering to us and giving us good new merch options beyond just the home and away kits. I'm excited for them. I really like the training gear is really awesome.
Yeah, man. 2018, 2019, those were really bad years for Adidas with our club. And I feel like these last 2 years, they've stepped their game up so much. This year, they've just hit nothing but home runs, man. Everything looks great. And I'm with Edgar, man. The wallet's starting to take a hit. You guys seen the video where they have Piojo Herrera saying hay que trabajar like nonstop. So hay que trabajar, hay que trabajar. So we're gonna have to. So hay que trabajar, bro, to get some of this merch, bro, some of this swag.
Yeah, and that was the cool part for me is that seeing not only the bright colors, like rich colors of our club in the new merch, the movement with the staying up to par with the campaign of Tigres Week, Tigres in the United States. On the back of the jersey, this is Tigres on some of the hoodies. Also with some of the old logo making an appearance. So vintage with new movement of trying to get that new fan base and bringing that fan base from the States. I thought it was great. And going back to a little bit of the atmosphere, Alfred, I don't know what you think about this, but I, for once, while we were hanging out in the fan zone, I heard a lot of people speaking English, and obviously, that's going to happen. But I was really, it felt really good, especially with what we're doing with this podcast, and trying to raise more awareness about our club in English. We had a lot of people asking us about it, people that I've never heard that, we were doing it, that I just kind of overheard conversations and then asked for the information for the pod and where we were at. But overall, we saw it just more of a trend, that more people were speaking English about the team. Normally, when you would go to these games, you hear maybe, the comments not the comment, but more so people speaking English, but also a lot of Spanish. So I really took note of that. And I really, really liked it because, again, it goes with what the team did this week and has been doing with looking to raise the brand in the States.
Yeah, and I think that there's a new generation of fans coming along. I mean, we spoke with a couple of new fans that were in their teens, and you could see also a lot of small kids wearing the gear, and pretty much little white kids, little kids that you could tell they were born here, or maybe you have mixed parents. And in the end, they're perhaps soccer fans, and at the same time, because of their heritage, somebody in their family has now shown them Tigres, and they're getting interested. And obviously, having Tigres come to the States and play, and the more often that they do, the better that they'll be able to, just feel related to the team and get closer.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke to Mark, a guy that we had met online and has been following our accounts, and one of the things he mentioned off camera to me when I recorded him was that he became a fan of Tigres recently, and more so just soccer in general about 2016 2017. He started following the Premier, and his son became a really big soccer fan. His son is 14, and they stumbled upon Tigres, and he shared with me that he was really interested in Pumas and Tigres for the university aspect, but ended up choosing us because of the atmosphere from the games, the colors, and it was really cool to hear that, as well as the fact that he now follows and is grateful not only for what we do with this pod, but individually us what we do during the game, and putting the game into context for him, because recently he started watching the games, and he gave a shout out to Estrella TV because now he has an easier way to watch the games. And but he didn't know for the longest who Chaka was, and he couldn't put it together, and he was like, "Who's Chaka? Who's Chaka?" And eventually he found out, it was Chaka Rodriguez, and so doing the stuff in English, live tweeting has really put that into context for him. So wanted to share that with you guys and the people watching that, it's those little stories that, a guy from Springfield, Illinois, who has nothing to do with our team, white American, fell in love with the squad recently. And, it just speaks about the brand and what the team is doing on the field and off the field as well. So really cool story there, and I wanted to share it. Seems like Dennis just joined us. I must have missed it. I didn't think he was going to be joining us. The man has been on the road. He came here to Houston yesterday, spent the night at our house, and he went to a wedding today, and it seems like we got him online. Dennis, you there? You want to check in? Say what's up to everybody?
I'm here. Hello. Yes, I just left the wedding that I was at in College Station, but I'm here. I may or may not be driving. Don't pot and drive, kids. But I'm here.
The man doesn't drink alcohol, but he'll pot and drive.
Exactly. Which one's more dangerous? That's for you to decide.
I'm pretty sure that falls under the category of texting and driving.
Dennis, do you want to share something with about your experience yesterday as we arrived to the game before we get into the actual game itself?
Yeah. Hopefully this doesn't cut out, but I thought it was a fun atmosphere last night, despite the little crowd. I wish the fan zone would have been more livelier, more stuff to do. That's kind of my one drawback, and I'm pretty upset still about the stickers. But other than that, it was a fun night. So
cool. You don't want to share about the Puebla people that were sitting next to us?
Hopefully, y'all heard all of that.
Yeah, we did, Dennis.
Dude, those guys are clowns. I love that. Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. They were, I don't know if they were sober or not, but they were very enjoyable to be around. And then they dapped us up after the game, after we won, which that was cool. That's respect. So, the few of the mighty, the proud Puebla fans.
They kept shouting, "Tigres sabe que le toca la desagre."
Oh my God.
Well played, man.
But they came over to us and they said it's all fun and games, and they dapped us up before they left. So good atmosphere by the fans. They did have some fans there, and they showed up, and it's tough. I told Dennis, and I was like, man, it must be tough, but that's the beautiful thing about soccer and football is that no matter what your team does championship wise or results wise, you're supportive of them because of either tradition, family, whatever the case might be. And those guys are there faithfully watching the game, having, throwing some couple beers back and just enjoying talking smack to Nahuel. I've never heard the word La Piscine, but I think it's a clown, but they kept calling Cordova that.
I wonder if that's their version of Cepillín or something. Or,
yeah.
Or El Payaso Pipo or something from over there, Central Mexico.
Well, and they were also calling OCL Sucaritas. So
yeah.
What the heck?
That makes no sense to me, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, I guess because they're we're the Tigers and Sucaritas, but it was a good even though there's not a lot of people, I think I enjoyed myself. I'm sure, Alfred, you enjoyed yourself, and Dennis, like I said, and, most people that we got to hang out and talk to also enjoy themselves. So overall, good first experience at the game. Let's get into what really matters is the pitch. What happened on the pitch, and we'll start with the lineups. Lineups, we went defensively. Well, before we get defensively, we had a comeback. After 100 days of no Paton, no Nahuel Guzman. We finally got to see him in action. We'll get into some of the opinions of him on the pitch, but he was starting in goal with a defensive line of Chuy Garza, Diego the Stone Reyes. Then we got Pizarro, and then Angulo in the mid. Something different because none of us kept up with this, and people were confused as to why Carioca wasn't starting. So we got a pairing of Bigon and Nando Gorriaran, with Gorriaran acting more as the defensive midfielder, playing a lot further back. We hadn't seen Nando in that role in a while, and probably, maybe even at Santos, we didn't really get to see much of that before he arrived with us. Out wide, he chose to go with Osiel Herrera, Cordova, and then two number nines, Nico Ibanez and Andre Pierre Gignac. We'll start there, fellas. Thoughts on the lineup, and what were you expecting as far as what was supposed to be implemented? We'll start again with you, Lou.
Yeah, it felt like it was an alternate lineup just because I feel like we're saving everything for the bigger game, right, against Inter. We said it pre-pod that Puebla was going to be, a manageable game. Let's not say easy, but a manageable game. And it ended up being that, just with some of those alternate players, B squad, whatever you want to call that, we were able to kind of control the match and boss possession and do what we needed to do. I felt like this was very much a trap game. It's one of those kind of games that we don't take too seriously. The humidity was high. There was a lot of factors there that kind of lulled us into sleep. And so you saw it, we had a decent first half, and then the second half we sort of shut everything down. So it wasn't really surprising to me to see what we saw out on the pitch. It wasn't dominant. It wasn't anything great, but it's kind of par for the course. I thought it was going to be a trap game for us, and I was just happy to see us come out with a win.
100. Edgar, Osiel, your boy, you praised him before in the past. Thoughts on his performance on the pitch, finally getting the starting position with Paunovic?
I loved it. I think he had a really great evening, and I think that he took advantage of the minutes. Hopefully we get a little bit more of that, and this was kind of something that I was expecting. Somewhat of an alternate lineup, as Lou mentioned, probably saving some of our players for the more important game, more exciting one, I guess you could say. But I think he had a really good night, and hopefully he gets the start again on Saturday, if Lainez is not at 100.
Got it. Alfred, Nahuel back in goal, Nando in a different role, Cordoba's performance, and then talk to me about the double nine.
Oh no, don't ask me about that. Lou, how about the double nine?
Lou got his chance first. That's why I tossed it over to him first.
Yeah, but he didn't mention anything about Nico and Gignac. So I mean, obviously, we're excited to see Nahuel back, and I think somebody tweeted or somebody mentioned in the chat. It felt as if he was never gone. This guy has been gone for over 100 days, and came in and did some great saves. I mean, Puebla didn't do much, but when they did get close, there were some close ones, and he got us through. As far as the midfield, well, we could definitely miss Carioca, like we've mentioned it in the past. He can't be replaced. Bigon, obviously, he puts in all the effort, but when Carioca is not there, then the work for Gorriaran, becomes heavier because he has to come back down and do a lot more defensively. We've said it, throughout the season. I think, the two players that have stood out as having the best season or the best comeback season this year is Gorriaran and Diego Reyes, which Diego Reyes, he ended up having the winning goal. So, we're really happy that Diego Reyes is showing up and is having a good season so far. But yeah, Gorriaran, I mean, I think, he missed Carioca, and overall the team, obviously missed him. And then up front, what can I say? We've seen that most of the times the double nine has not worked. During this season, it worked once. I forget against what team it worked, but it all depends on how the game is approached, and I believe that in this type of game, with Puebla and the way that they were pretty much all over us. They were double teaming our players. It just seemed like Nico was lost. I did not see him participating much, and I'll point out at one point in the game, I'm not sure if it was shown during the TV broadcasting, but I was able to see it for myself. Paunovic was pretty much screaming at Nico because he wasn't doing what he was asking him to do in the pitch, and it was defensively speaking. I mean, making sure that he was, being part of that pressure.
Yeah. I also want to point out, because I don't want all the Nico's, name to get slandered all over the place. Gignac also had 24 touches yesterday. Nahuel Guzman had 32, and the stat credit to Edu Torres, who pointed out throughout the day today. Not great on his part either, but I think it was more of a collective unit. I don't think you can fault both and point out things that they specifically did wrong, because I think it was part of the overall game plan that did not go well as far as the strategic assessment against Puebla. Puebla also was a very dirty team yesterday. Lots of yellows on the pitch. Obviously got a red card off of a double yellow by Cavallini in the second half. Dennis, you and I were sitting together and we were watching the game behind goals. We were able to see a lot of the tactical work, movement wise, from side to side, up and down. What do you think with the lineup selected? What do you think could have gone better for Tigres in order to maybe collect a few more goals?
I felt like the strikers weren't getting fed enough at times, and I can't really know the reason why. I just felt like they weren't getting enough of the ball. I felt like a lot of, and credit to Puebla, I felt like they were trying to direct a lot of what we were trying to do through the wings. But I don't think, at various points, I felt like they could have found Gignac or Nico a little bit easier through the middle specifically. But in the grand scheme of things, like, they were playing a low block before the 10 men, and that just, got even greater once Cavallini got sent off. So I'm honestly not that surprised. And without Carioca being able to play some of his more, like, genius passes, like with Vigon and Goriaran, like, you can't expect them to, like, break lines that easily. So I wasn't super surprised from our vantage point. It was just one of those games where there's still kind of like not a preseason feel, but definitely like a beginning of the season feel to it. And obviously some pressure involved, but considering the circumstances, I thought we did fine.
Don't give up on the 4-4-2, man.
Last
night's game is kind of one of those games where it's almost a throwout game. Like you mentioned that Gignac and Nico weren't too involved, but there was 35 crosses and we only connected on 9.
Yeah.
So our crossing needs to improve, and I think it will improve once we have Lainez and possibly Marcelo Flores on the other end of the wing, and now you get better crosses into the box. And if Pauno ever mans up and puts Aquino on right fullback and Garza on left fullback, I think now you're going to have even more crosses, more quality crosses into the box. And with 2 strikers there, you increase your likelihood of scoring. We had 17 shots again, so I think we're on the verge of doing something great if we can just sharpen up some of our play, especially our wingers. And I trust Lainez to come in and deliver, because last season his crossing accuracy was improving quite a bit, and he was starting to look really good, landing a lot of those crosses. So Marcelo Flores also has looked fantastic when he's come in. He's given us a spark. He's the one player that's also willing to try different things, not just crosses into the box, but taking players on, dribbling into the box. That sort of thing is also going to open up opportunities for Nico and Gignac.
Hey, 11 crosses too, or 11 corners.
11 corners all wasted.
Yeah, it's that's been my my problem with Tigres for a while now. It's been a problem with Tigres for a long time now, and I thought that with so many coaching changes and different like methods of training, I thought that would be something that we would focus on. I'm not expecting to go every corner, but with that many corners, 11 corners, I feel like out of those 11 corners, I would say one thing that I had a problem with is that Cordova was, and you saw when there was three corners in a span of like maybe 30 seconds to a minute, he went from, my vantage point, the right side to the left side, back to the right side. And so do we not have anybody that can cross the ball? Not necessarily better than Cordoba, but besides Cordoba. The second thing is that some of those Cordoba crosses were not great, possibly due to the fact that he's playing on the pitch, creating, getting involved, and then, also having to take care of that. And, he's a left footer and a right footer. We know that, and he does it well with both. But he insisted yesterday with his right foot. So I thought I was like, maybe, change it up, especially after not sending a couple of good crosses. So I would like to see some improvement there by the team and the coaching staff to really make it a point, because now it's been several games where we do have a high set of corners. I want to go back also to what you said, Lou, about the shots on goal. Osil Herrera had about 2 or 3 that he had on goal. Brunetta had about 2 incredible saves by the keeper. So that is definitely a weapon that is definitely worked up on practice, and it's definitely shown while the team is playing ball. So I do enjoy that. Angulo had another one. Yep. He blasted one, and that blast knocked out a person in the stands because it was near us. The guy had to be taken to the doctor because, after like 10 beers, bro, and then you get rocked. Like the guy was in Uganda, and so it was. I'm very pleased with that. I think that the weapon style of attacking is increasing. I mean, I think that the crosses, even though they were high, it definitely shows that the team is definitely being worked upon as far as creating offensive schemes, I should say. And so ultimately, we got the result, and I want to talk about the subs. And I'll throw that back to you, Lou. We had Luis Quiñones come on, Chelo Flores. We had Brunetta. Purata is now ahead of Samir, so we know Samir is not going to get any minutes. Pizarro slotted up to defensive midfielder. And who was the last sub that I'm missing?
Edward the Third.
Edward the Third. Oh, yeah. So Edward the Third coming in at right back. Talk to me about the changes, Lou, and what was the intention there?
Well, for one, give some of these players rest, right? I think we got a big game on Saturday, so manage the minutes is important. But also we needed a spark off the bench. We came out really flat in the second half, and I don't want to make up excuses for the guys, but when it's that humid outside, man, and that hot, it is tough to play out there. And so smart by Pauno to give us some options off the bench, give us a spark that we needed. I thought Brunetta looked great off the bench, probably one of his better games this season. And he was coming off the bench. So that was great to see. And then Chelo Flores, man, he just continues to get better. I think he's anytime you have a winger that's not afraid to take players on, that's the type of player I love to see. Because he's gonna disrupt things. He's gonna disrupt the back line. Any organizational thing they got going on back there, he's gonna mess it up with that. So he was the one player I thought that was doing things differently. And when Puebla was sitting in such a low block, that's what you need, right? You need to be able to disrupt things, to be able to create chances, get some shots off. And I thought Flores was phenomenal. Purata and Edward III, they don't excite me. It's just there's nothing there for us. We've seen them get minutes, and I think they've reached their peak. That's about as much as we're going to get out of them. So, but to me, Brunetta and Flores were the key there.
I want to highlight something off of that Marcelo Flores cross and assist. Typically, I want to backtrack first. When he gets the ball, he has space to take on the cross, balance, both feet on the ground. And so the best way for me to describe it after, seeing it from my vantage point and then going to see it in the replay, taking on the defender and being off balance, it's like, shooting a fadeaway when you have the open shot and you decide to make a move and take the fadeaway. When you're in the NFL as a quarterback, instead of, stepping into your throw, you take a movement and throw the sidearm. Those type of plays from a winger are incredible and shows you the potential and the superstar level that he has, because he's willing to take on the defender, throw his body off balance, and still produce an amazing cross with a lot of power and direction and precision for someone to get into the box and score. So it was great to watch that. And like you said, he's on the come up. We need a type of player to take on players like that. We hadn't had a winger since Damian Alvarez, and we talked about it when we were talking about the historical players, to take on defenders like that and really go at them and show their skill. And he's going to fail at times, but the fact that he's got that willingness to attack a defender with his speed, with his change of pace and direction, like that's incredible. And I think that, one thing for me after watching the substitutions come on, and I understand the Cordoba sub because Cordoba, had a high work rate the first half, got the goal, was super involved on the right side of the field, the left side of the field, behind the forwards. Even at times, Nico Ibanez slid out to be the winger position because Cordoba tucked in. And so I understand why he was taken off. But I really would like, especially yesterday, because I thought it was a good opportunity with the 10 men, and maybe even a little bit before that. You already have two not natural defensive mids. So I think that an easy fix would have been to take out Bigon and slot Brunetta in there. And so you would have had both Cordova and Brunetta, even if it was for only 10 minutes, just to see what they can do in order to pull defenders away and then also, work together. I really, I know Linus is out, but I would like to see Marcelo Flores and Osiel Herrera be the starting wingers with Cordova behind Gignac. And then, obviously as the time progression goes on, maybe moving around depending on the opponent. Maybe we're not going to see that against Miami because you have to respect them a little bit more with the type of game that they play and, their possession and build up. So it's not going to be as a less, talented team like Puebla was. But ultimately, I think that, Paunovic demonstrated and is willing to pursue, not being complacent with what he's choosing for a starting lineup and as far as making substitutions, and also not respecting the I guess the name on the back of the jersey when it comes to the player on the pitch. So those to me were positives that I saw from the team. Now, we could have converted maybe some more goals, but I think that ultimately the team is working, like I've mentioned. I don't know if you guys saw anything else different that you guys would like to contribute.
All I know is that Pauno is saving his best for Inter. He's going to release the Kraken, the beast, Luis Quiñones on Inter Miami. Our crossing efficiency is about to shoot through the roof.
Man, it's just the dude. I hate to be the hater, but I went over to my parents' house and my uncle was there, and he was talking to me about the game, and he was like, "I don't understand, like why he continues to get the minutes." And yesterday was probably the only time that it was, I guess, okay. And it goes back to the humidity and the work rate. And I even told Dennis, I was like, I think you have to sub in Luis Quiñones, and you're gonna have to, and it sure happened.
But he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, here's one.
But he ran. He ran.
He did. One other thing I'll say is that I'm very impressed with how much better we are in the air defensively. Because you remember last season, we struggled a good bit. We gave them some really cheap goals because our center backs weren't in the right spot. Felipe not in the right spot. And I feel like every single time there's, a cross coming into the box or a long ball coming in, like Reyes is always in the right spot. Pizarro is always in the right spot. Even Purata was in the right spot multiple times last night in the few minutes he was in. And that's a testament to the coaching staff for working on that, because those little things matter if they lead to goals. And luckily we haven't, had to deal with that. I mean, the one goal they had last night was something that you couldn't really stop. Nahuel wasn't going to stop that. That was just one of those unfortunate, fell right to his feet.
There's too many players in the way.
Yeah,
his vision was blocked.
So what else could he do about it? Yeah, exactly. So I've been impressed by that because, last year, we got frustrated multiple times of, what are we doing? just head the ball out of the way or just be in the right spot. And we have been in the right spot so far.
Got it. Edgar, anything else you'd like to add about yesterday's game? Overall thoughts as to we move on to the Miami game.
I think we did well. I think we absolutely could have done better, and there was room for improvement. Kind of just, not necessarily 100% happy with the double nine, not happy with all of the subs, but I do understand them. And I think one of the best takeaways for me was just seeing Nahuel back in goal. That was great.
Cool. Well, that does it for our Puebla recap. Unless you guys have anything else to add, I want to get into a little bit of what Lou took out of the conversation that he had with the Miami fans as we get ready to play them here on Saturday.
So definitely mutual respect. They respect our club, our fan base. Obviously, Gignac, man, what a legend, right? It feels like everybody knows who he is and knows our club because of him. He's been such a great bridge, great ambassador for our brand. So, they're excited. They know the firepower that we have. And it was interesting in the conversation I was having how some of our weaknesses play into their strengths and some of our strengths play into their weaknesses. So it's going to be a really interesting tactical match. I'm almost thinking that they might take a similar approach to what Columbus Crew did in Conca against us, perhaps pressing us high, trying to force some mistakes. Also, sitting in a low block and then counter attacking. So they have options and they have weapons to use against us. But having Messi out, is a big blow to them as well. So we know that, they know that, and it was a great conversation and got them interested in visiting El Volcán. They've had bad impressions at El Tri games. People fighting and that sort of stuff. And I said, hey, our games are not like that at El Volcán. Like, you can still take your family and you can enjoy the game. So they were pleased to hear that because they had kind of that impression that perhaps we were similar fan bases. And I said, no, different fan bases. El Tri and us, we are not the same people. So, I mean, we're the same nationality, but not the same type of fans. So that was a good takeaway from that.
Did they really use the word tactical with Tata Martino as their head coach?
Oh, snap, bro.
That was really interesting. I thought I misheard that, but
no, they talk tactics, bro. They did.
Love that. I mean, shout out to them. I mean, there's no beef against them, but Martino and tactical work in the same sentence, that takes a lot of courage to spit out loud.
Oh man.
That's great. Any obviously they named Gignac, but any player that stood out to them or any things that they were looking for out of our squad besides Andre Pierre?
Our attacking mids, they were trying to see what options they had. They mentioned, so they watched the game last night and they mentioned the amount of crosses that we had. They said, man, you guys cross a ton. And so they were kind of wondering, where does that come from? And so they were talking about our wingers and our attacking mids, and we talked about our fullbacks, how some Javier Aquino likes to push up. Guido Pizarro also joins the attack. So that impressed him quite a bit. The fact that we had nearly 70% possession and got so many crosses in. And so they had that concern about defending our crosses, defending our strikers.
That's gonna be a good game.
I have a question, Lou. Did they mention at any moment their encounter with Rayados in the last Leagues Cup?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because they have a really active chat during the live. So they use the same features as us, StreamYard, and then they're live streaming to YouTube, and their chat's extremely busy, like constantly people chatting in. And there was one guy named Mitch, and he twice mentioned how trashy Rayados fans were. He said at one point at the end, he said, hey, that was great that you brought in a Tigres fan. He was I don't know the wording exactly he said, but basically saying like, you know, that we're a classy fan base is what he said. And he says nothing to do with the trash fan base that Rayados have. And I don't know if the podcasters got a snub from Rayados podcasters, but it seemed like they were not
Beef.
willing, yeah, not willing to join them at some point, you know, to talk about the game. Because that's one thing they mentioned, that they always, when they meet other teams from other countries, they try to have a podcaster on there to kind of talk about the game and what to expect and predictions, you know, the usual. And it felt like Rayados might have been invited, but they shot it down. So it kind of goes to show, you know, like, unfortunately, you know, Rayados fall into their stereotype. They're kind of creídos, they're kind of arrogant, you know, haughty, better than you kind of attitude. And so I think that reflects on them as a whole. And so I thought it was really interesting that twice it got mentioned in the chat how Rayados fan base is trashy.
Well, they lucked out that they met you and they didn't meet Henry Ford. Because Henry Ford can be a lot during our live streams, and you know, shout out to him, you know, for presenting a lot of information. We couldn't have done it without him the other day, but he could be a whole lot. So respect.
Hey man, shout out to Henry Ford, man. Even though he talked bad about me.
Fellas, you know, I didn't want to make this a long pod. I just want to touch up briefly on the embarrassment that we most likely watched about an hour or so ago. It's very unfortunate. We touched upon it on the last pod a few days ago, as far as, you know, the recap of the Houston Dash game versus TigresFemenil, and how, you know, it was a missed opportunity. And, you know, I even went on a little rant there because having this tournament or / cup as an opportunity to grow and really figure out where you're at as a team, it should be eye-opening for TigresFemenil. We're not as deep as we think we are. I know we're missing, you know, Jenny Hermoso, Ana Seiza, our new arrival, and we're missing a coach, it appears like. But we're just missing, right? Like it was not great for us. You know, we went down 4-1 against Kansas City in a game that looked more sold out than the men's game last night. So shout out to them. You know, Kansas City is a great soccer hub for United States soccer in general. So there's a lot of history there with Lamar Hunt. What do we think about that? What do we think about the missed opportunity with this tournament, and more so this specific game that we just witnessed?
We had mentioned it, right, end of last season, how if we didn't get a coaching change, we were probably going to see this happen at Leagues Cup, and sure enough, it happened. It looks like Mauricio Culebro and Mauricio Duener met for breakfast with the wrong coach. So, yeah, I mean, I think we all agree, right? I mean, she needs to go. Mila Martinez just doesn't have any clue. My biggest issues on the pitch, I don't want to mention Mila too much, but on the pitch is there is no link up between the players. So watch when we play out the back and our fullbacks get the ball, either Villarreal or Anica, there's nobody to play to. There's nobody to play to. So because there's nobody around within a reasonable distance, and when I mean reasonable distance, you know, 10 yards, 12 yards away, you have, you know, logic dictates if you're playing out the back, you have to have at least two players that are 12 yards away within you, you know, up the wing or in the middle somewhere.
You know
or
who was good
behind
like
you,
that?
whatever.
Mercado. That's who we miss.
And so there's no connections, right? So when there is no option to play, what do? You just play the long ball.
And
And
we're
then
not good at the long ball.
when you're playing against a team that's very, very fast, has excellent pace, that presses very well, what do you think's going to happen with that long ball? We're going to lose it 99% of the time. And you saw it in this game. So it works against Liga MX teams. yeah, you can try playing the long ball, and with our bigger bodies, our more athletic players, we end up winning some of those battles, and our style of play is decent enough to compete for the league. But when we go outside to these tournaments where we got to face NWSL teams, forget it. It's not going to work. And all that is work that you do during the week. The fact that we don't have anybody to play with, there's no connections, there's no movement. Our players are not pressing well we don't have the ball. That's all on the coaching. You saw it on the set piece today. Mayota's just ball watching, and then we get destroyed, right? So there's just too much to fix, and we don't have the coach to make those adjustments, and so we got embarrassed by truly a better team, a more superior team today. So there needs to be some kind of change. Otherwise, we're just going to, outside of the league, we're going to continue to see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and it's a letdown because especially with the amount of championships that we've won and the dominance that we've had, it can sort of get a little old, I guess, when you watch TigresFemenil. Maybe you take the victories and you obviously will take the cups and the championships, but you expect more, right? And we're not running teams out of our stadium anymore, or even in opposition stadiums. We're not as flashy as we used to be, and that's due to the league also growing and bringing in better players. And so this tournament allows you to see Tigres in a different, or TigresFemenil in a different element and of competition. And we blew it. We blew it with our coaching staff. We blew it with our lineup selection. We blew it with the lack of physicality and the lack of pace, the lack of concentration at times, and making mistakes like it happened in the Dash game early on. And so it just shows you that, you can be the big fish in the small pond, but that doesn't really do well when you want to transition into a bigger stature of club, and in terms of your play and your overall meaning to the competition. So it was a little bit let down with the result, obviously, but more so let down with the performance and the lack of emphasis that could have been taken on either bringing the missing foreigner slots that we have. I feel like that's taken a bit now to address. We've talked about it. We definitely need a forward that is a lot more, has a lot more firepower and to score goals, and use the wing play of Ovalle and Tembi. Because if not, it's going to go to waste going to Mayor and Alison Gonzalez when you have two wingers like that. I thought Alexia Delgado looked vulnerable in the mid. She needs to increase her pace. Her agility is obviously there, but her quickness and strength needs to improve, especially if you're going to handle mid as the lone defensive mid for TigresFemenil. So it was just not a good result, right? You wanted to compete, you wanted to possibly come out like 1-1, maybe even earn a hard fought victory of 2-1, 2-0 at best, and maybe you don't take the advancement in the tournament, but you walk out proud and you walk out like you did your best. And instead we did the opposite. We beat a Pachuca team who were expected to be at home, where we looked bad defensively in the goals that we gave up. And then we look foolish in the game against Dash and the mistakes that we made there. And now a game like this, not sure if anybody has anything else to add.
We need to change a coach. I mean, I know we've said that a couple times, but at this point, it's embarrassing. I think that this team is meant for so much more. Yes, it's a good reality check to see that we're not at the level that we sometimes think that we are. But regardless, I think we could have done so much better. I think we shouldn't have gone out like this, as you mentioned. I think against Dash, for sure, we should have had a better result. I didn't get to watch this game, but I was keeping up with it on social media. Looking at the subs, they were horrendous. They were a disaster. I don't necessarily understand them, but I can tell you that the person in the manager's chair does not know what they're doing at all.
I mean, the broadcasters were mentioning, Tembi just scored a goal. Why is she getting sub?
Exactly.
Like, what the heck is going on? I just think that overall in Liga MX, the quality of our players has what has been saving us. And you mentioned, Arnoldo, that lately teams they're starting to pair up or match up better against us in Liga MX, and I think it's because we're very predictable, and just they have better coaching, and they're preparing their games better for us. And really, we most of the times we still get wins because of the quality of the players that we have. They're just better. But that's not enough against these teams that are very, very well worked. I mean, you could tell, like, they knew exactly where everybody was. When they were attacking as as one unit. When they were defending as one unit, and that's something that we lack.
Hey, when's the first Conca Champions game? Anybody know?
No clue, my friend. That's usually your job.
I believe September. I believe it's in September. Don't quote me. I can't give you a definitive date, but I know it's coming up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so whenever it is, that's how long they have to find somebody after they fire Mila. She cannot be coaching Conca Champions. We'll have no shot.
No
No
shot.
Guys,
shot
it's
whatsoever.
not gonna happen though. I mean, unfortunately, if there was gonna be a coaching change, it would have happened before the season started. I don't think it's gonna happen now.
I mean, if there's a layover in DFW and Mila wants to come hang out at the IHOP or Waffle House tomorrow morning,
Edgar's buying.
I'm buying.
Instead of the two Mauricios, it's gonna be Dennis and Edgar, and they're gonna give her the bad news.
The
D and
two
E.
Stooges.
The great news:
D&E.
he's been promoted to unemployed.
Something to note in this moment for TigresFemenil. If nothing is done, hopefully we win the championship, right, in Liga MX, and that sort of like settles the fans and calms the waters in terms of a fan base, which obviously anybody who is really into the team is still, even if they win the championship, like, we're not going to be content just because it's expected, right? Like, we have a really good team per se as far as where we're at in the league, and even then I think it's going to be a challenge this season. The other thing for me with that is that we are at a very critical point because you have a really talented player in Ovalle who is really young, and during her time with Mila Martinez, she has taken a less prominent role with the squad. She's still able to do her MAGA stuff, but she has not gotten per se better in terms of excelling with the progression that she's had from the beginning of the league and what she's demonstrated over the league till now. And so for me, when you have a coach that's not making your best players shine, or the surrounding cast that you have, who you also want to push, right? Because you do have some national team players like Anika, like Alexia Delgado, Mari Carmen Reyes, even, at times Greta and Ferral. You want them to, obviously, for fan purposes, to be here with us on the squad and give us more accolades and cups, but you want to also get that feeling that if we are considered the best team in Mexico and we have the best championships, you also want to make that push for your players and your best players to go towards better leagues, in this case, the NWSL, abroad to the bigger teams in Europe. And with a coach like that and what has been demonstrated in terms of on the pitch itself, and what has truly gotten better, I can't really come up with one or two things that the squad per se has gotten better with under Mila Martinez to where, hey, Ovalle should go this season or next season because she has improved this, and this. Instead, it's more of a, no, she's that good and she has been this good for the last 2-3 years that we still ride on that fact that she should be in a better league.
Yeah, Mila's definitely slumping or causing her stock to slump, for sure, no doubt about that. And to answer your question, Arnoldo, I don't see any improvement besides goalkeeping. I think Ceci Santiago has been better this season than perhaps 2 or 3 seasons ago. But other than that, our back lines is taking a dive. We're not as organized as we used to. Our midfield is not what it used to be, and even our scoring's not where it used to be. At least this season, we're starting to slump there.
Yeah, it's a critical point for me. And I think that anybody that is really into the team, besides the common fan who enjoys watching them, and, like all of us do, right? Like for the most part, they have out of 10 performances, they have 8 great performances, 7 performances. They get their passing grade, and, maybe not the best played soccer, but we get the results. So it's masked a little bit. But I think for the more in-depth fan who's been along from the ride from the get-go, when it's really a more well versed in the game and the tactical aspect of it, I think that we can definitely say that she's holding the team back, and it's tough.
Not just the tactical aspect, but just it's less enjoyable. I mean, this team used to fly. It used to bring in large crowds at the Uni. Doesn't anymore.
Hey, Edgar, H-Town Edgar is saying that the women's Conca starts at the end of August.
Yeah, against Monterrey.
August 20th, I believe. August 22nd. So
Okay,
it's
21
coming
days
up.
to bring in somebody new. Let's go.
Everybody talked about Tuca Ferretti and Guido Pizarro having a big freno de mano. Now we know Mila Martinez said, "What's up?"
Oh yeah.
She's got the freno de mano and the air brakes too, bro.
Wow. Well, fellas, I think this is a good stopping point. We'll keep it shorter than we have with the other pods this week. Any last words, comments? Tigres week is coming to an end. Here in Houston, obviously, we have tomorrow is Friday. The team is having a get together at Pitch 25 for those that live in Houston, right around the corner from the stadium. It's scheduled from what I received from the club when they first introduced the Tigres week. It's from 6 to 8. I also saw a flyer from the Libres Locos Houston. Also mentioned that they're going to be there, providing the vibes with the murga. So if you want to go have some drinks, I think the team is going to be there. Maybe, hopefully, giving out these stickers and maybe other things. We'll see what they got in store for us. I was planning on being there, but I no longer am able to. I got business. I got a catering event tomorrow that I got to handle.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there to drink tequilas and ranch Topo Chicos.
You got to make that money to buy all the merch.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, hey, hold on. Before we go, I got one thing to say. Have we made predictions for tomorrow? For Saturday?
Saturday.
Have we done that?
No, we haven't.
Nope.
Do we want to do
Before
it?
we go into that, actually, I'm still curious. I mean, we need to talk about the lineup. I mean, do we know if Carioca and Aquino are going to be back?
Aquino should
for
be
sure?
because he got a 2 yellow card in that last game last year. So that should be just a 1-game suspension. That should have been.
Because we didn't even know that they weren't going to play.
I think Carioca rested. I don't think he's in the. I think
I'm
he
with
was
that
on
too.
the squad for rest. So I would imagine they're both back. No,
Bro, nobody had that information. Everybody, like any of the insiders for Tigres, even like people on this side of the border, nobody had that information. It slipped that Tigres lost the Aquino to that made up penalty yellow.
I imagine we go 4-2-3-1 instead of 4-4-2 for this game. I think you got to have just the one striker, and it's got to be APG because marketing.
Would you guys still want Cordova instead of Bruneta?
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's earned it.
Yeah, I do too. I'd start Marcelo, honestly.
Marcelo Nociel on the wings, Cordova and Gignac.
I love that. I love that.
Carioca, Nando Gorriarán.
Good.
Aquino, Chuy Garza, Diego Reyes, and Pizarro.
And Nahuel, yeah.
And Nahuel, combat the movement. Instead of Angulo, you have 2 quicker guys on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
that
it.
would be the perfect lineup.
Paunovic, you hearing us? Glenn Davis, if you're watching, make sure you get this to Paunovic.
I'm going 3-2, and I'll say why in a sec, but y'all say your predictions.
Oof. That's okay. Wow. I'm going 2-1.
I'm going 3-1. I don't believe in these dinosaurs. Nah, I mean, I joke around a lot, but it'll be a good game.
The
But
battle.
it's still Tigres, so 3-1.
I'm going 2-2. Goes to PKs and Nahuel's the hero.
No manches,
Yeah.
Lou.
Nice.
A los Tigres, papá.
You know it's Saturday, Lou. It's Saturday. I'm gonna have drinks in me. I can't handle that.
There's gonna be some rage tweeting on your part, bro. I just
Oh
know it.
my god.
Ideas. Fred.
I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna be hopeful, and I'm really trusting our back line this year. 2-0.
Nice.
I like that.
Okay, here's why I said 3-2. I was watching the Apple post game, like the Leagues Cup recap show that they do, or they've been doing every night, and they started talking about our game. I was watching it before I went to sleep last night, and they were looking ahead to the Miami game, and one of the guys had mentioned, and I think it's a great point. I wonder if we'll see both of the teams kind of play a little bit more free, since there's no pressure of like trying to qualify. Obviously, you want to like top the group, so that way you have the quote unquote easier pathway in the knockout. But I wonder if both of those teams, because of the star power and kind of the older legs, if there's not like as high intensity and there's more like flair and like excitement. And I think that would be good because like you think about the players that are going to be on the field. Obviously, Messi. There might not be Suarez. I've heard he's got an injury, so he may not even play. But just think about what Miami has and what we have, and if we can have more like high scoring and like lots of chances and stuff, that'll really be what gets our money's worth. So hopefully we can see that, and it's not like a tense game, but it's more like a fun, like good for the eye, entertaining game.
I don't think our players are up for that. I mean, we
You
have
don't think so?
competitive players. They want to win even in playing marbles. So I don't think Pizarro or Guignac, are gonna let off a little bit and let Miami play. They don't want that. This is our showcase game against a high profile team for the MLS. I mean, I don't think that we want to receive any goals. 1 or 2 would be too many.
Yeah, we want to take it to them.
Just put on a show.
If we win, I know that based on the bracket, we'd be going up against either Pachuca
or Toronto,
right?
Or Toronto, and we will. If we lose, well, we're gonna play one of them either way. So, the second place team of that group is who we play if we win the group, and then if we finish second, we play the winner of the group, and they play Sunday night against each other. So we'll know Sunday night where we're going.
And then the thing is, if Tigres wins the group and it ends up being Toronto, do we play in Houston again? Because we're technically the home team and that's our hub, or you think so? Even if we're the number 1 seed, because they're technically the 2 seed.
Because we're MLS team, and we don't have hub privileges after the Miami game technically, so we go to Toronto.
Okay, and then so if we play Pachuca, we play in Houston, even though that's not in the rule book, and we don't have the privileges.
I think that would be the case because it is another Liga MX team. Because according to the rules, the committee determines where that game is if it's between 2 Liga MX teams, and I don't know why you just wouldn't keep it there, but who knows?
I feel like it's not concrete, even though, because I don't know, man. I feel like they might pull something that they just want to make up. But that might be a good thing for you guys, because they might not want to do in Houston again after 2 games, and they might give you a Dallas or a Austin game and have to get
it. Be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that stadium.
Watch them go to El Valle first.
That'd be funny. I will say this though: if we finish second, and if we were to win the round of 32 game, it's likely we'll play Columbus in the round of 16. So
rematch, baby.
Too. Yeah, rematch.
Well, I'll tell you this though: after results, from yesterday and today, it seems like we're going to be facing MLS teams no matter what going forward. So, I like that.
Yeah, shout out our league for being crap besides us.
I like that because I
think is going through.
Yeah,
Yeah, they should be.
I perfectly like that just because I like going against the American teams, even though people think that they're lesser competition, but obviously not because they're doing really well against Liga MX teams. And for me, again, it goes back to brand purposes. I rather much have a Tigres versus Toronto, a Tigres versus Columbus, a Tigres versus New York City, being broadcasted than Tigres Pachuquita or Tigres, Cruz Azulito, Tigres Ameriquita, anything like that.
Who knows if Cruz Azul will even make it at this point? They lost. So.
All right, time to go. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, fellas. Everybody that watches tonight, thank you again for tuning in. I know we've had quite a bit of pods this week. Thank you for those that have been following the pod on YouTube, new subscribers, new followers on X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I've been putting quite a bit of some videos now on TikTok to see if we can, make more people aware that we're having a pod talking about about Tigres. For the most part, we get most of our viewership from here live on X, so we're going to continue that. So thank you. Share this once the audio's out. The audio will be out tomorrow on Spotify and Apple, and where our messages are open. We're going to be having some more content as we progress in the Leagues Cup. I got a Chicago TUDN broadcaster for the Chicago Cubs. That's a Tigres fan. I'm going to secure the slot with him
Is
to
that
talk
Moreno?
about. Yes. Yeah, to talk about Tigres, and cheering from afar. Mark, who I met yesterday at the game with Alfred and Dennis, coming in from Springfield, Illinois. I'm definitely going to have his story as well, a little bit more in depth. And then I'm going to have it doesn't have his name, but Second City San Lucian. I believe his last name is McDaniel. He is a St. Louis City SC fan, and he's a co-founder of one of the supporter groups, black supporter groups that he has out there. So want to get his story.
Also.
Yeah, he follows us as well and cheers on Tigres from afar. So want to get some more stories about the fans that we have in the U.S. If you have people that are not camera shy or not afraid of having a conversation with me to share their story about Tigres, our messages, like I said, are open. If you don't want to have the conversation with me, you can have it with any of these fellows that are here on the pod to continue to spread awareness about our brand and increase that fan base here in the States, because we know that there's a lot of you guys out there. It's just a matter of finding you guys and getting your story out there. And I know that because, again, like I mentioned, when we arrived to the game yesterday, there's a lot of people talking about the team in English, a lot of people of Mexican American heritage with either an American wife or vice versa. And so the generations are changing for people following Liga MX, and more so our team and the proximity, like we talked about, and the closeness that we have to the state of Nuevo León helps us to increase that and make that a lot easier. And with success, it's easier to pick up fans along the way. So just want to throw that out there, and thank you guys once again for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time, and be on the lookout for more content. Like I said, fellas, any last things?
Let's go get it on Saturday.
What was that?
Yeah.
Let's go get it on Saturday. Make a big splash.
Yeah.
Just one thing, everybody that follows us, make sure that you tell your friends, your families about us. I think that the word needs to get out because there's a lot of people that are listening to us, but maybe if you share our content, or if you share our pod, we'll be able to get a larger crowd.
We got the sweetest voice in podcasting. So
you better stop. You better stop. I don't want to hear it.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
See y'all Saturday.
Peace.